driver of that number 10 Smithfield Ford Mustang for Stewart Haas Racing. We're going to roll right into questions, and our first question is going to come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead with your question, Bob.
Yeah, Aric, you won the opening segment of the Open at Bristol, but your overall stats at Bristol are not the greatest. Do you have any angst, or is there something that we should know beyond the statistics?
I really feel like the statistics at Bristol, for me, have been really just feast or famine. I've run really, really well at Bristol. I've led a lot of laps, and been run up front in Stewart Haas race cars. I've run even really well there at RPM. I think I've got a top 5 there in the 43 car and a couple top 10s. So I've run really well there. Have just had silly things keep me from getting a good result. I think back in 2018, we ran up front, led laps, and had a power steering failure. We've had other issues. Had a really good car this spring, arguably one of the best cars in the field, and had a loose wheel, had to recover from that, and then coming back up through the field and passing a lot of cars, got caught up in a wreck on a restart. So just things have always seemed to either go really well and I've run top 5 or run really well, or we've had fast race cars and wrecked or not finished. So the performance has always been there. I feel like for me at Bristol, is just whether or not we get the result.
So does that make you more nervous for Saturday night, or you have confidence and what happens, happens?
Yeah, I have a lot of confidence just in how well we typically run there. So I do. I have a lot of confidence going into Bristol. I feel really good about the cars that we have going there. And if we get caught up in something, then it just wasn't meant to be. But I feel like we'll perform at a high enough level, like we need to go there and run good enough to make it in and transfer through to the next round of the playoffs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Our next question is going to come from Mark Garrow. Go ahead with your question, Mark.
Thank you. Aric, I mean, with a single digit gap or cushion, are you more offense, more defense? Just how do you play this thing strategy-wise?
Just got to go race. I think the ideal thing to do would be to win both stages in the race, right? We'll score the most points and you don't have to worry about it. But beyond that, it really is just about racing and scrapping and getting every point you can get in each stage, and then, fighting for every spot you can get in the race. And, certainly once the race is happening and once you get through the first 2 stages, you'll know kind of where you stack up points wise. And, if I'm sitting there running 7th, I'm probably not going to stuff it in the fence trying to get to 6th if I know I have a decent gap in points back to where I need to. And on the flip side of that, if we need that spot or a couple spots, then you're going to be super aggressive and do whatever you can to go get those points. So I think the beginning part of the race, going through the first 2 stages, you're just going to race really hard and try and get as many points as you can get, just like everybody else is going to do. And then from that point forward, you'll know kind of what you need to do to close out the race.
Our next question is going to come from Michael Shelton. Go ahead with your question, Michael.
Thank you very much. Well, Aric, you talked about your confidence heading into Saturday night's race. I just wanted to ask you about your first season under your new crew chief, Mike Mugaritz, and just how much confidence he's given you and your entire team, moving forward, especially heading into Saturday night's race where you can hopefully get a more positive result at Bristol.
Yeah, Mike's been great to work with. He's a very passionate, intense crew chief. And I enjoy that about him. He works really hard on the race cars, and pays attention to all the details on the car and the simulation side of things. That's kind of where he came from. He'd been an engineer for most of his career, and then, you know, graduated to being a crew chief, and a good one at that. So he's been a lot of fun to work with. He's certainly fiery and competitive, and I appreciate that about him. And he certainly expects the most out of me as the driver, and he expects the most out of our team. And all the guys rally around that, and we do our best to make sure that we give our best, and we do that anyway. But Mike expects that out of us.
And as a quick follow-up, did you learn anything during the AllStar Race as far as, you know, the makeup of the track, the compound, and the choose rule, that any lessons that you've learned from the AllStar Race that you might take into Saturday night?
You know, I think Bristol's one of those unique racetracks that changes all the time, and especially with how they apply the PJ1 on that bottom groove. In the spring race, it seemed a little bit different than what they did for the AllStar Race. The AllStar Race did not seem quite the same as the spring race. The bottom groove didn't seem like it had as much PJ1, or wasn't as wide. And so a lot of the cars were a lot looser in the AllStar Race, it seemed like, or you know, I think a lot of the field was struggling with running the bottom. But the top never really came in either, because we were the only series there, and our race was really short. All the runs in the open were very short runs, and then all the runs in the AllStar Race were very short runs. And it really takes a long run of 30 plus laps for that top groove to even start to come in. And then from lap 50, 60 on in a run, you see that top groove start to become a little bit more dominant. And we never got that in the AllStar Race. So I think a lot of things will be different, including the weather. It looks like the weather is going to be quite a bit different. You know, the AllStar Race was a pretty hot night, where now it looks like it's going to be in the 50s for the race here coming up this weekend.
Thank you. Good luck to you.
Thanks.
Our next question is going to come from Dustin Long. Go ahead with your question, Dustin.
Aric, how do you feel the choose rule has impacted the races so far in the playoffs, and what kind of impact it might have moving forward?
You know, I think the biggest impact that it has is that now you get to kind of choose your own destiny, right? On the restarts, at least. You know, in the past, wherever you came off pit road or wherever things kind of cycled out is where you would line up, and you would see kind of the games that were played on pit road, where somebody would rather restart fourth than third. So they would slam on the brakes at the end of pit road if they were third, and hope that one car would pass them so they could restart fourth. Or, you know, you'd be fourth, and, you know, one of the guys in front of you would get a speeding penalty, and you'd be like, oh man, now I'm going to restart third. Just because that was not a favorable spot to be in. But now, you know, you could be fifth or sixth in line, and if nobody chooses to restart third, you can choose that, and you can actually advance up there. And if you get a good restart, actually come out to the good a spot or two. And it just puts things a little bit more in the driver's hands, to where you're not married to that spot where you come off pit road for the lineup. And if you don't want to start on the inside, if you feel like your car's struggling to take off on the bottom lane or the top lane, or you know, if you want a different guy pushing you, or you want to follow somebody different, you have that choice, where, you know, in the past you didn't.
Thank you.
And our final question will come from the Motor Racing Network. Go ahead, MRN Radio.
Hey, Aric, it's Alexa. Looking at the next round, you've got Vegas, Talladega, and then the Roval. What are the feelings about those combination of races, knowing that two of those could be pretty big wild card races?
Yeah, I like it. You know, I really enjoy the excitement that this schedule has put into our playoffs. You know, our playoffs are already intense and exciting, and you know, from a fan's perspective, I just think that the way that they have set this schedule for the playoffs is incredible. You know, I think a Saturday night short track race at Bristol for a cutoff race, I mean, come on, that is awesome. And then, you know, round 2 to go from Las Vegas, 1.5 miles, you know, downforce track, to then go to Talladega, which is certainly, you know, exciting and a little bit of a wild card, like you said. And then to the Roval, you know, it's 3 distinctly different racetracks. You know, I think it's just really awesome for the fans. From the driver's standpoint, I like it too. You know, it really sets up for that versatility and make sure that you got to be good everywhere. You can't just be good at your short track program. You can't just be good at your 1.5 mile program or your super speedway program. It all has to be good. And I think that that's, you know, really when you crown a champion, that's what you want to identify. You want to crown somebody who has been successful at every different types of racetrack throughout the year. And so incorporating that into the playoffs, I think is awesome.
Thank you.
Good deal. Well, Aric, really appreciate you taking the time to join us this afternoon, and good luck there at the world's fastest half mile.
Thank you, guys.